I will not be partaking in any sort of serious gambling because I don't know how to. And you know what? I think that's a good vice for me to not have.
Could you get in on, I don't know if this is open as of yet, but there's Uno up.
Like the card. Like
there is the card game.
I don't even know how to play that. I don't even know how to play that.
Come on now, Courtney.
All I could do was a solitaire computer game on like Windows 95, and that's fine. But I don't have any
little
skills.
Minesweeper in your game.
You know,
little pinball
and Snake. Bringing it back a little bit. But no, I was terrible at it. I'm not going to play the slots either. It's all rigged. Unless you're going to the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana, which, by the way, go and spend your money. No, it's not for me. I'm not equipped.
I fully. But
it should be. I mean, the amount of Bears fans, and that does play into the game because, like what Declan Doyle was talking about today, like preparing for the crowd noise, which you do when you go on the road, but they are expecting a lot of Bears fans there, and they're expecting that noise level to, kind of dictate what they might not be able to do normally when you're in a road environment. When you're in a place like Vegas, and we see how crowds travel, we see how big crowds like Bears fans, Steelers fans, other fan bases that, typically have a good road following, that could change the dynamic of the game of what you're able to do on offense. I mean, hell, it's the reason the flights are so expensive, and they've been so expensive because this is the one game that Bears fans are circling early in the calendar that feels very winnable, even though they're road underdogs by just a little bit. But beyond that, it's a good time to be had. It's a weekend that you make out of this. The NFL wants to see this stuff happen more often, especially in a place like Vegas that is going to bring in more of a tourist crowd. So I feel like the Bears 100% should write that into their game plan of how they can use that to their advantage, especially on offense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, it's got to be, as a Vegas, I guess if you're a Vegas Raiders fan, it's got to suck a little bit. Like, we can't pack this place out and like take over the stadium because everyone else wants to come here on this weekend. Like, it's got to suck a little bit.
I've wondered about that because I used to cover them in 2016. That was my first year covering the NFL when they were still in Oakland. They were playing at O.co, the old Coliseum, which was a dump. But those fans filled that stadium as much as you could. You obviously couldn't fill the upper deck, but like, I am really curious to see how it's changed the perception of, the feared Vegas or, Oakland Raiders with like the black hole. And they had such a, I wouldn't even say good fan base, which is rabid fan base, aggressive fan base. My mom's first NFL game that she went to, she brought my brother, it was Raiders. I was covering Raiders, Panthers. Cam Newton was playing. And somebody poured beer on somebody, and then somebody threw nachos upwards, like not understanding the laws of gravity. And then she was like, that's going to be probably my last NFL game that I go to. And I was like, man, that's terrible that happened. But those fans were so aggressive. I am really curious to see, because I'm doing sideline for radio that day. What does it feel like when you're on the field? Because I bet that place could feel like 70% Bears fans by the time Sunday kickoff rolls around.
Well, and you know how we travel. We've filled up just about every Miami stadium. New Orleans has been filled up with Bears fans before. Like, Chicago travels well. Anytime we can get an opportunity to soak up a little bit more sun, we're going to take that opportunity. And so I think this is going to be an interesting crowd situation. I think on the field, though, maybe a little bit difficult for him, Courtney. We saw some of the injuries that are still plaguing the Bears today. Now, the injury report is not out there, but didn't see Grady Jarrett today. Didn't see Colston Loveland 2 days in a row. I think the biggest one, of course, Grady Jarrett and Colston are bigger names, but the biggest one for me right now is the fact that we did not see Darnell Wright out there for a second day in a row. And listen, Darnell's season hasn't been phenomenal to start the year off. Don't know if this is going to turn into something long-term. It could be he doesn't practice all week and he gets out there. We've seen that happen, but I think the conversation has to be had with the draft that you had this year. Is this the first opportunity for us to possibly see Ozzy Trapilo get his first opportunity to start or even be just active on the field for the Chicago Bears this year?
It's a good question. And, backing up a little bit, we did see Darnell finish the game. So it was interesting when you go back to Monday when Ben Johnson's talking about how they came out of the game with injury. And he didn't mention Darnell on Monday. He mentioned him a little bit. As an elbow injury on Sunday, but it was really focused on Colston Loveland. He offered that up initially. That to me, I was like, oh, well, Darnell must not be a serious injury. He must have been able to, obviously played through it. Must not be something that they're worried about. And then to not see him out there Wednesday and Thursday at practice. He has an elbow injury. It was something that looked a lot like pretty serious in game. He looked like, I was watching him, he looked like he was in a lot of pain, but then he comes back after Theo Benedett fills in for him. Is this a pain tolerance thing? Did they discover after, imaging, if they got an MRI or an X-ray, whatever it was on Monday, that it was worse than they thought? Like, what is it? Because right now, if you're just looking at like the information that you have a player in Theo Benedett who has now played in a real NFL game at right tackle. I think going into the game last week, he only had like 30 something snaps at right tackle in that Miami preseason game. We had seen him more in the mix at left tackle. There's your swing tackle. So great on the Bears that they were able to figure it out.
He's a natural right tackle, wasn't he? Wasn't he brought here as a right tackle and had to kind of switch over to left side? From British Columbia.
But I mean, either way, like you were looking for that. You were looking for that one player because they had 8 offensive linemen active: Ryan Bates, Luke Newman, Theo Benedett last week. So you have your swing tackle, but to your point, Ozzy Trapilo, your second round pick, has been inactive the first 3 games. It's kind of like maddening to think, all right, this guy was a right tackle for majority of his college career. You thought he could be a left tackle. You decided that wasn't the best fit for him, but why can't he be active at right tackle? At least be a body that's up. And so obviously if Darnell Wright can't go, that's a numbers game. Theo Benedett would then slide into right tackle. Maybe you'd think in theory, Ozzy would be active, but to not be active at all the first 3 weeks is, I don't want to say alarming, but it's mind-blowing because I don't understand how you can spend that high of a draft pick on a player and not have him active at all at the position that he was most comfortable playing in college.
And it had an opportunity to get into the game. Listen, whether you feel like he could be the swing tackle or not, I would think that you would want to see what your right tackle looks like. Now in that game, right, you're winning the game. Theo got in there. He looked pretty comfortable on the right side. So maybe you do go with best player available in that situation. But I think there is a conversation to be had now where you got to look at this Raiders game and say, you got a Raiders defensive line that, yes, Max Crosby can move across that line. Maybe you don't want a rookie on him. But, I mean, Theo Benedett didn't play a ton last year. You're kind of in that same situation. This is the guy that you went out and drafted. And I think this is the conversation we keep having. This is the guy that you said, this is what's going to be successful for us. And you keep not going to those guys. You went out there and drafted Shamar Turner. This is the defensive line that you went out and paid money to. And we keep going, well, this wasn't good enough, and we need to see improvement here. I'm all for the improvement, but are you telling me that yet again you've gone out and found players that you're too afraid to put on the field on Sunday that early in the draft? That is a problem. Same thing with Karan Amagaji last season. Like, it seems to be a theme with this team right now, and I love it. Coming off a win, you're feeling good, you're riding high, but now your right tackle's banged up. How is this not the opportunity for you to go out there and get the guy that you said hit a rookie wall in camp at left tackle? So clearly he's pretty much just the right tackle. How are you not putting that guy on the field?
It makes you wonder, is he not developing in practice behind the scenes? Is it too much that you think he'd be a liability out there in games to not even have him active, like not even have him in a backup role where he could have gotten in the game last week? Like if Theo Benedett and Ozzy Trapilo were both active, if they carried 9 on the game day roster, who would have gone in? I mean, that's a game it's a hindsight game. We can't really, come to a real answer on, but obviously like it would point to Theo Benedett. They might say, oh yeah, like it could have been Ozzy, but no, like clearly they've told you through their actions, they don't feel he's ready to be active on, a game day roster. And that to me is concerning because you drafted this player high. You used a second round pick when at that time running back was obviously a need. Defensive back, as we've seen that play out and the injuries, that's a need. This is a player that is collecting dust in streetwear on the sideline. Like that's not great for your roster. Somebody who's on the 53-man roster who is supposed to be a part of this offensive line. It was talked about being in the starting competition to play at left tackle until he wasn't, all of a sudden couldn't figure it out or just wasn't good enough to compete anymore. Like the rhetoric doesn't line up with what we're seeing the results are, which is a player who seems like he's just not ready. That doesn't seem like that's worthy of a second round pick. And yes, guys take longer to develop, but somebody who is that high of a second round pick, like that high of a day 2 pick period should be playing right now.
Yeah.
Like, should at least be in the mix. And maybe it was a numbers game where it was like, all right, well, Darnell's our starting right tackle. Like, we knew that he wasn't going to play right tackle right away, but we thought with Braxton Jones, there might be a window. Well, clearly it just doesn't make sense from what they've been trying to position it as. This guy was clearly NFL ready enough that you used a second round pick on him. I think it was your second of 3 second round picks on him.
He went before Shamar.
And then now he's not.
Yeah.
Like, that's not logical. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, 100%.
Unless something on the player that you discovered when he was in this building, he's not getting it. His technique's not good here. Like, did you not see that in the scouting process?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing for me, right? Like, I love the fact that the Canadian Eagle's out there on our soundboard at the studio. We got an Eagle noise. I love anytime he's on the field. And I think it's a really cool situation that he's getting the opportunity. But there does come a point where, yet again, at every turn, we look at the general manager and say, these aren't like Tic Tacs. These are high picks that are supposed to be impact players. Somebody who, I believe his contract is what, $100,000 short of being fully guaranteed. He can't get on the football field. Like, that is like, there's so many side-eye situations. I think the biggest thing now, because players that are going to be available, players that are going to be active, how does this affect this team as far as the offensive line play? Is Ozzy the better option? Is Theo the better option? But truly, right, we saw an offensive line last week that looked like they started to come together, even with Theo out there. No sacks on Caleb Williams, whether that's because of Caleb or not, whether it's because of the scheme or not. You're starting to see an offensive line gel. This is an injury that could really throw some things off, even with some of the ups and downs that Darnell has had.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just see the numbers, like in the run game, like we were, prefacing earlier. The run blocking's been really good.
Yeah.
It's the vision of the running backs or whatever they're doing and not capitalize on these blocks that is hurting the efficiency of this run game. The offensive line's gelling. And I know it takes a couple of weeks for that whole thing to come together with your 5 offensive linemen, the rest of the offense, timing. We didn't see any pre-snap penalties. It feels like it's on its way. Is this Darnell Wright injury enough to then knock everybody back a peg? Because that would be unfortunate for this offense as it's starting to make strides, when it feels like something's working. It's just, can the rest of the offense catch up to, what has historically in the last couple of years been the weak link in Chicago? Like, for the fact that it's not right now, seems like they've got something going with the formula that they have, the players that they have up front. When you take one of those players out of the mix, if Darnell Wright's not able to go, can it still stay that way, in a game or two, however long it would be for that player to be out?
Yeah.
And, do we see changes in personnel? Because I thought, if you were to take me back weeks ago, my thought was, all right, Ozzy Trapilo up until the bye week, they're going to try to slow play this, develop him behind the scenes, let him be at right tackle. But if Braxton Jones isn't and I know he had one game the Dallas game, he didn't give up a pressure. That's great.
The Dallas game was good. Yeah. The Detroit game was rough.
Yeah, the first 2 games, he gave up 12 or 13 pressures. Yeah. It was a team high. So my thought was, well, if you're starting to see that Braxton's reached his ceiling, maybe you're going to try to cross-train Ozzy back at left tackle, so where he'd be able to take over that position in week 6 when they come out of the bye, because they have a good sample size to be like, we're ready to make a change. Now it doesn't feel like that's an option unless he is, when we're not out there, training at left tackle. But they told us a month ago that he wasn't a left tackle anymore. So it just feels like it's a player that doesn't really have a spot on this team. And that's alarming for a high second round pick to be in that spot.
Yeah. It feels like you don't have an option for him right now, which I think is the most concerning thing, coming out of this, even, with how this team is possibly going to gel or how he fits in with the group that is here. Like, what was told to us was that Ozzy Trapilo is so good, it gets boring to watch his tape. That's literally the words that Ryan Poles said. He's like, and it did in college. It does get boring watching his tape because he's a technician. He's just, I'm in my pass set. I'm in the flow. You're not getting past me. That's the bottom line. And he's massive, so it is difficult to get past him. But there's clearly a disconnect that you're not getting through on right now. That I think, if you can't put him out here in a game like this, where, let's be real, it's Max Crosby. Like, on one side, maybe he picks on Ozzy, maybe he picks on Braxton. It's probably going to be Braxton. If you don't feel like with the rest of that defensive line out there that Vegas has, that I would say I'm not as worried about outside of Max, that you can't put him out there in that game, what's the game the rest of the season you're going to put him out there, Courtney? Like, there is no other defensive line that I look at the rest of the way that I'm like, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Even the Giants have a great
defensive line. That's the best part of their team.
Dominant. Like, no matter the weak team you're looking at, like, this is the game where it's like, hey, let's get some film on tape. Let's see what you're doing. Let's go into the bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we head to Washington, we'll see if we got to make a decision there. But I think you felt like coming into the year, you had an option at left and right tackle to go to. Now it kind of feels like you don't have an option on either side to go to. When Darnell gets banged up, you're immediately throwing Theo Benedict in there. And it felt like Theo Benedict may be in competition for the starting point at times this offseason on the left side. So it feels like this tackle situation has continued to be more and more confusing the further along we go.
Yeah, and we'll see when they get to the bye next week, if Braxton has another game like he did against Dallas, can you get by with him a little bit longer there? Because the way that Ben Johnson has been talking about, what they're getting out of that left tackle spot, what Dan Rochar said last week, and kind of like hinting that there was a time where he almost was benched.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a ringing endorsement of the player, nor was it when they said, well, reluctantly, he's going to be
somebody
our left tackle.
will start at left tackle is exactly what they said.
if they get another performance from Braxton Jones and they can go into Washington with him, like if they can just keep kicking the can down the road, I think they're going to have to do it, because it doesn't seem like any of the other players, like via a numbers game, you have more interior depth, which is great. Ryan Bates, good on them for hitting on Luke Newman.
Yeah.
Like a 6th-round pick, I mean, it's optics-wise, your 6th-rounder versus your 2nd-rounder being active on game day is not a great look. But with your tackles right now, it feels like you're out of options, because one of the options apparently is not ready. Yeah. And I don't think they ever thought they'd be in that situation, but that's how it's presented itself. And it really could hamstring some things here with how well the offensive line has been playing in spurts. Certainly run blocking, obviously their pass block win rate was, I believe, 65% this past week. So that was 11th out of Caleb's 20 starts. So it's in the middle. It was fine. Yeah. But the run blocking has been really good. So I guess you just try to lean on that. Can you actually establish a ground game though? Like, that's the question.
Yeah, no, that's the major question. I think as we head into this game, that's going to be the one thing. Is why I asked Declan today, right? Do you see some of those short passes? Because Swifty's been fine in the pass game. Mm-hmm. Do you see some of those short passes as extensions of the run game? And what he said to us was, yes, but we want to dictate what the defense has to do. We want to dictate that we're running the football so well that they have to adjust to what we're doing, not that we have to adjust our run game to what they're doing.
I love that my husband's so handy. He leaves more money for the important stuff. Whoa. Gosh darn it, Steve.
Oh, don't be like Steve. Call Avondale Roofing. DIY is for Pinterest, not your roof.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, this Bears offensive line, run blocking wise, has been fine. Like, it's been actually top of the NFL in the run blocking game. And I think that the fact that you've got 2 running backs on this team, it goes back to kind of the same conversation. You got 2 running backs on this team, one of which at a certain point you didn't trust to go for it on 3rd or 4th and 1. And at other times in the game, yes, you had the 11 straight runs, but it was kind of a death by 1,000 cut situation. I think that's only a situation that works when you're winning a game. If the Bears are winning, run game may be fine in that situation. But right now, your running backs combined for 59 yards on Sunday. Like, your starting and backup running back. Oh, by the way, Roschon Johnson can't even get carries.
No, he's not. He's been written out of the game plan at running back. And if you look at the raw numbers, 113.3 yards per game, that's 15th. So like dead set in the middle of the NFL. Take away the quarterback, take away the wide receiver runs. So DJ Moore and the scrambles that you get from Caleb Williams, and it's alarming. So the numbers here, if you were to do that, that drops the Bears to 64.3 rushing yards per game. That's 28th in the league. So it's 3.5 yards per carry. Not great.
Yeah.
But like when I brought up run block win rate for the offensive line, they're 2nd right now through 3 games. But DeAndre Swift, for whatever reason, as your lead back, is not capitalizing on the blocking here. Like, his success rate on those rushes, or his rushes, 35.7%. That's 33 out of 38 running backs with at least 20 carries this season. So what is it? Is it a vision issue? And I know what Declan Doyle said today. It's like, well, we might try. We look back at that. They feel like they left a lot of yards out there, and they did.
Yeah.
But like, is there a different cavity that we attack the defense with? To me, that's telling you he's not seeing what he needs to see. Cavity meaning, is there a different opening? Is there a weakness that you go capitalize on, like, on the backside of the play, wherever it is? The run game has been less than desirable, but it was predictable that it would be like this. It was, because you didn't upgrade your personnel nearly enough to where you felt like that we can lean on this element of the offense while Caleb and the passing game are trying to figure it out. Caleb in the passing game, at least in the short term, appear to be ahead of where the run game is. And yes, they got, anytime you can use the clock that way, run the ball 11 straight times in a 19-play drive and cap it off with a touchdown, you're going to feel like, okay, look, we did get it going there. Like, that's one example of it. But can you do that when you might not be able to wear it on the clock as much because strategically you're trying to save it for, more possessions, whatever it is? If you're trailing, obviously they were ahead by 10 points at that point. I don't know why it's taking so long for this run game to come alive. And this would be a prime weekend for that to happen. Yeah. Because you're on the road. You saw how effective your offensive line's been at creating holes. Now, can your running backs, can they capitalize on it? Whether it's more of a split between Swift and Kyle Monangai, whether they are using DJ Moore in the backfield, because what Declan was asked about today, it's not a gimmick anymore. That's a part of their offense. Yeah. Teams are preparing for that. Yeah. So now that they're preparing for that, can you still be effective with it? This would be a really good time going into the bye to show that this rushing offense can be effective, because it's just not right now.
And the one thing that I will say, in a positive manner, I guess, about kind of what we've seen through the first 3 weeks is it doesn't feel like Ben Johnson's trying to force the point either.
Sure.
And I think at times, right, that's when you can get yourself messed up. You have to call the game based on the personnel that you have. Listen, DeAndre Swift in totality, what he finished with 79 total yards on a day. Not a great day, but I think that, that big run that he breaks off for 41 yards, or the big reception he breaks off for 41 yards, right? That's an extension, like I said, of the run game. I think those are the moments where, okay, Ben's understanding this is the personnel we have right now, which may turn into a situation very similar to what we've seen with the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco is just kind of the best of a weird bunch.
Sure.
He's not great. The Chiefs' run game is never great. This season, it's kind of biting them in the butt a little bit more than we've seen in seasons past. But, like, you just kind of go in there and you look at it and you're like, yeah, but their goal is to throw the ball and move the ball through the air, and they're being very efficient at that, and they're supplementing it with enough of a run game kind of built around it. I think if you're a Bears fan right now, that's something you can feel confident in. That Ben Johnson isn't just going, just turn around, hand it to Swift, and we're going to try and get 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's saying we got to make plays, and we're going to call the best plays that put our guys in position to go out there and be successful, whether that's an end around to Luther Burden or Olamide Zaccheaus, or it actually is on this play, turning around and giving it to Kyle Monangai. But clearly he's calling the game for the team that he has, and I think that's a positive heading into this Raiders.
Yeah, it's not trying to. I think one question I've gotten from people who are wondering, what do the first 3 weeks of Ben Johnson look like? It doesn't appear to be a coach trying to force his scheme through, no matter the personnel. Like, he's adapting to the players he has. And when you bring up the idea of manufacturing yards, end arounds, jet sweeps, screens, that is an extension of the run game. And I think that's what you have to do until you figure it out. But, they need more from Swift. And maybe history repeats itself here. Like, he had a 1.8 yards per carry in the first 4 games last year. It wasn't good. Like, it really didn't come alive until, I want to say, that Panthers game, week 5. He might have done something against the Rams, but, like, it was at the second half of that Carolina game where DJ Moore gets going, DeAndre Swift gets going, because they get him out in space. I want to see them do that.
Oh, the big cut.
The big one, And, I want to see that happen, because to me, they keep talking about we're close. All right, well, what is it? Is it, clearly he said yesterday, it's not just like taking a different angle on a play. It's not, I tend to think we're close is I have to read this thing better, because the yards before contact are bottom 5 in the NFL right now among qualified running backs. Yards after contact are, mediocre. Like, you need more out of you. This is the guy that you doubled down with and said, no, he'll be good enough to carry the run game.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't have a Roschon Johnson in there. You're like, no, this guy will be good enough. We don't feel that our short yardage back from a year ago can contribute here, because we have enough over here. And Kyle Monangai's carries continue to increase his workload.
100%.
Can they get more of a balance though? Because if Swift can't help you here, And especially when you're on the road, you've got to be able to run the ball. I know we brought out the idea that there are going to be a lot of Bears fans here, but you still have to be able to run the ball to take some pressure off of Caleb. So it's not, you're in a, I don't know if it's a hostile environment, whatever the heck it is, you have to run the ball better than you're doing because it's not working right now. It's just not efficient.
Yeah. And I think what's funny about it is like, I would say DeAndre Swift has been fine for the offense that they've called in the sense that when he's had to be a pass blocker, he's been
great.
Fine.
He's really
he's
good
been
at that.
Dominant at it this season, I think. When he's had to be a pass catcher, he's been good. The thing that we're looking for him to be is a consistent running back. And I'll say this, Courtney, this feels exactly like it felt when Ben Johnson took over in Detroit. And DeAndre Swift was a draft pick for them. And it was like, okay, this is your running back. And then all of a sudden we turn around and Jamal Williams has – we have 18 touchdowns and he's getting all of the carries. It's Jamal Williams' biggest year. He has 1,000 yards. We're just like, what happened to DeAndre Swift? Next season, he's traded.
Sure.
I'm not saying that that's the situation here, but like you said, we're starting to see Kyle Monangai get more opportunities, get more involved in the run game. Starting to see him do some nice things in pass blocking as well. As a receiver, we're seeing him get involved. At a certain point, does this become that year in Detroit where it seemed like DeAndre Swift was going to be the guy, and all of a sudden we're looking up and Jamal Williams is the one that's really the lead back for that offense?
Yeah, I mean, the competition element here, and I know what they're saying about DeAndre Swift is that they're all close, like especially him, like, but if you're not seeing it, if it's not manifesting itself into big gains where you can rely on that running back as your workhorse, then what's the way around it? It's by switching out personnel. Yeah. And I don't know if they're there yet. I don't know if Kyle Monangai is somebody you can trust yet, just based on how Ben Johnson has approached that position, but certainly it points to the more than anything, it points to the offseason.
Yeah.
Points to what is going to be a pretty significant need. Defensive end, safety, probably cornerback too. Running back right up there as well.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what ends up happening with that. Outside of that, though, the game this Sunday, I think, is going to be, as we talked about on Tuesday, one of the more important ones for this Bears team. I mean, an opportunity to go 2-2 heading into the bye. You got Washington on the other side of that and be able to evaluate where you're at. What's going to be the big thing for this team to continue what we saw offensively versus Dallas coming into this game? Because when you watch the tape, Courtney, you kind of just go, especially as somebody who watched a lot of Matt Eberflus tape, you go, yeah, Flus was on the other side. That may make a difference in that game versus this week where you don't got Matt Eberflus on the other side.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be, it sounds simple, the whole carryover effect. But what carries over from Caleb Williams in that game? What carries over from the play calling? I think Ben Johnson and what he's done with Caleb's early progressions on a specific play, like almost like simplifies it for him to where those are half field reads and putting his quarterback in a situation to create some explosive, manufacturing those off of play action, manufacturing those off of trick plays. Can you do that every week? I think there's ways to do it. And I think that they will, if you can't get the ground game going, it doesn't mean that being one dimensional can hurt you like all the time. I mean, it's certainly not what you want to be, but they show that they, until when they built a lead, like if worse comes to worse and the run game looks as kind of like as it did early on, if you can build a lead by spreading the ball around, by getting Caleb, if the pass protection's as good as it was, and then having Caleb Williams be able to, use the tight ends. Colston Loveland, will he play? Will he not? Adam Schefter reported earlier in this week. He has it sounds like he will be considered to play. So it's not like he's out by any means, but get the tight ends involved. Now that Luther Burden has shown, hey, I'm here, what's the attention going to look like for him? Does that open up opportunities somewhere else? If these teams think, okay, well, don't leave number 10 open because he could be on the explosive end of a flea flicker or something else. Like if you can build a lead that way and you can then just try to like grind it out with like multiple runs back to back to back to back. I honestly think that's not a bad formula, but this game will come down to how does the quarterback perform on the road in places where they don't, their points are cut in half with Caleb as quarterback, 15.9 points per game on the road. He's only won one road game in his career in, because technically they were the home team in London, but like that was the Green Bay game. This would, it'd be monumental for him to have like back-to-back wins with one of them coming on the road, then going into the bye. Then you give this coaching staff a full menu of stuff to look at to be like, hey, what's working, what's not. Like I mean, to be a 2-2 team is critical for them at this point to show that it's working for Caleb and also being able to hold claim to he didn't just do it against Dallas and a bad defense. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the Raiders, they're a better defense than Dallas.
100%.
Certainly they're going to get pressure on him in ways that he didn't see last week. So how does he, after not seeing much pressure, I believe it was 7 dropbacks total, how is he going to adjust to that when he has to now account for one of the best pass rushers in the NFL?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, like this could be a game where, in my mind, Caleb Williams is, unfortunately, your leading rusher, just because it could be.
And that's why the numbers are so skewed because of him. But I guess you'd rather have that than not.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the reason being, there's going to be dropbacks where Max Crosby's going to win. Like the one thing I can guarantee you, Max Crosby will beat Braxton Jones multiple times on Sunday. If it's on the other side, he will beat Darnell Wright. He will beat whoever, Theo Benedict. Like, he's that good of a pass rusher. But because of that, the pursuit is going to open up that opportunity for Caleb to do what we saw on Sunday at the end of that 19-play drive where, hey, I can use my legs, and if you guys are going to play back, I'll just take off and go get 10. Or if you're going to play up and you're going to spy me, guess what? Now I got DJ Moore open. Now I've got Roma Dunze open because you're trying to keep up with where I'm going on the field. That's one thing that the Bears do have as an advantage, and I think it's one of the things that we haven't utilized a ton this season, that this could be the game for that because Max Crosby's going to be in the backfield. I would be very shocked if we come away with another game of 0 sacks, 0 turnovers, maybe 0 turnovers.
But I mean, and to that point, they have shown like a willingness to max protect the sides that they feel are weak and where he's lining up. I mean, that's too. It's good coaching. That's adjusting on the 100%. Fly to seeing like where are they moving him around because they're obviously going to do that. Yeah,
100%. Like that, I've been so impressed with the scheme of this. I don't even know if I could say, Courtney, that like the personnel have impressed me as much, but like what we saw on Sunday where you start the game off with Braxton Jones, with Durham Smythe standing next to him, and you've got Cole Kmet in the backfield. And it's like, wait a minute, like we're really committing to making sure that our tackles are protected. What a novel concept that we haven't seen here in Chicago nearly enough. I think that's going to be massive for this team on Sunday. And I'll flip the script looking at the other side, Courtney. Like, I think Dennis Allen hit on it a little bit today, but this defensive line is going to be so incredibly important, and we haven't seen early pressure in the game from the Chicago Bears. They got a chance to pin their ears back, and all of a sudden the defense looks like world beaters at the end of that game. There was 18:50 time of possession versus 11 seconds because that defense could not get off the field. They were bend but don't break. They couldn't get off the field versus Dak Prescott. Geno Smith's a veteran quarterback. He will attack you if you give him the time.
Yeah, and that's, he had a good bounce back for himself last week. He knows like that he can, obviously they're not going to win if they have another 3 turnover game for him like he did on Monday Night Football. But I just believe that this pass rush needs to be a little bit more innovative. You've got to move Montez Sweat around more. And who knows if Grady Jarrett can't play, Jervon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Shamar Turner, is he ready? Like another thing, it'd be like if your 2nd round pick, if they're down Grady Jarrett. And I mean, he had the knee injury. It's the same knee that he injured a couple of years ago. So maybe this is more of a like, let's just be safe sort of thing because he played last week.
I was going to say he is the player that could DNP all week. And you go, are you healthy? Okay, go out there.
I would not be surprised if that was the same strategy that they use. But if he's not able to go and you need more bodies there, is Shamar Turner ready? Because if he's not, after all these weeks, I understand he was injured and but that was in July, in August. Like now would be the time for him to show up and show that he's ready.
Yeah, and I think there's always a learning curve in the NFL. I'm not saying that it's easy. But when you select people in the 1st and 2nd round, there should be some sense of a natural talent that you're seeing on display. We didn't get to see a ton of Shamar on Sunday. He was out there a little bit. Really just saw him barking at Tyler Booker. I don't know what that was. Like, is there a barking dog connection between the two of them? I don't know. But outside of that, there is this like, okay, we drafted you in Luther Burden, right? Luther Burden missed time. By the time we were at the end of camp, he was still being told, you need to be going in motion right now. He was not fully caught up. He's probably still not fully caught up. But you know what he is? He's really freaking fast and he can catch the ball really, really well. So if I tell you on a flea flicker, just blow past your man and Caleb Williams says he's going to get the ball to you, You just got to catch it. Guess what? There was a natural talent that was shown the second that he hit the field. We're not seeing Ozzy Trapilo can't get on the field. We're not seeing that as of yet, and maybe it just wasn't enough reps from Shamar Turner. I don't think we've seen that really from anybody in this draft class as of yet outside of Luther Burden. Maybe a little bit to Colston, but Colston got banged up the second you saw him make a big play. So I think yet again it kind of comes back to this. Where is the God-given ability that got you here that made Ryan Poles go, we have to take this guy in the second round? I think Shamar Turner, this is going to be a massive game for him versus an offensive line that's not good.
They've struggled.
Like, they gave up, 5 sacks for Geno Smith last week? I was a massive Jackson Powers Johnson guy. I wanted him to be a center, not a guard. They seem to be committing him to the guard, but he's just getting blown past on a consistent basis. Like, this is a week.
And he was the second most sacked quarterback last year behind
Caleb.
Yes.
Like, this is a year this is a week where Javon Dexter and Shamar Turner and Andrew Billings should be feasting on the interior of this line.
And if they can't, then it shows you that something needs to change with the pass rush, that you go to your bye week, you're like, what are we not doing to get pressure? Do we need to blitz more? Do we need to, adjust the personnel? And I don't really know where you go because your best players are playing.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat and Dio Dangbo, they're out there. But if they can't do it this week, when this should be a far easier pursuit than weeks past, then I think it does raise more questions about, like, what are they doing up front? Because you're without Jalen Johnson now for, indefinitely.
Yeah.
And Kyler Gordon, we didn't mention him at the top. Like, he's not practicing right now. So he was week to week. Do they decide they want to hold him out till after the bye? Obviously, TJ Edwards too. But when you think about the back end of that defense, if you still can't get pressure up front, you're only making their jobs harder.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I keep saying, we watch Kyle Fuller go from being a dude that was like, okay, he plays on the team, he's fine, to a Pro Bowl caliber player who was intercepting the football all over the place. Well, what changed? Khalil Mack showed up and was in the face of quarterbacks. Like, if you're not able to get pressure up front, unless it's prime Deion Sanders and Darrell Revis back there, like, you're not living in a world where 6, 7, 8 seconds on the field, you're going to be able to cover a guy. These guys are too good. They're too fast, especially going up against a team that has Brock Bowers in the building. Like, that's a dominant piece that Geno Smith basically just goes, I'm going to just keep throwing him the football because every time I throw it to him, he catches it. Like, that's one you're going to have to figure out as well. I think this is going to be a tougher matchup than many people think for the Chicago Bears. I think this game's a little bit closer than we have seen. I do have a Bears win because I did pick a Bears win on this one preseason, but I think this is a 27-21 type of game, not kind of the dominant game, more of a closer game down to the end.
I have them winning as well. I mean, obviously 34 points at home was that's a high output. Until they can show us they can score 30, 31 plus on the road, I still think it's going to be like a 29-27 sort of game for the Bears, but I will pick them to win on the road as well. So 2-2, though, there are going to be a lot of people playing the hindsight game, be like, I told you, 2-2 going into the bye, lose to Minnesota, lose to Detroit. But you're feeling not great, but you're feeling decent about yourself that you kept, a game within a field goal with a division rival, and that you would have beaten 2 other opponents on the way to then getting ready for Washington in the back end of your schedule.
Well, and you give yourself an opportunity, like 0-2 in the division. I don't expect this team to be the first team ever in Chicago Bears history to come back from going 0-2 in the division and make the playoffs. But you're giving yourself a shot. 1-3, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot, very similar to what we've seen. You have to now, though, go at 2-2. You still got to go beat every team in this division at least once, but at least you're putting yourself in a position where that opportunity feels a little bit more realistic than coming out of this 1-3 and you're going up against a Washington team that had your number and has had your number the last 2 times you've played them.
Yeah.
So you got to go out there and find a way to get a win. Biggest thing for me, make sure the pre-snap penalties stay down. You do that, I think this Bears team.
You can do it on the road, too. Yeah. And I know we were talking about it. Like, there are going to be a lot of Bears fans there, so they know to be quiet on offense. But regardless, they home, away, neutral site, whatever, keeping those things down, like,
it's a different offense, Courtney.
It is. When you're not playing in, like, 2nd and 20, like, you're in a much better spot.
And when you go back and you look at that Detroit game, literally, except for, like, the turnovers on downs and stuff like that, like, literally every play that was a negative play, you can see, it was a loss of 10, loss of 5, holding penalty here. Like every single time it was like, we're moving in the right direction. You would get a penalty.
Yeah.
You see on every other play, they don't. The consistency is like, well, the offense just knifed its way down the field and they look like a better football team than what Detroit had on the field on that play. Like this team's Achilles heels, I said it the entire time, is going to be the pre-snap penalties. If by week 4 you're still keeping that low back-to-back weeks, you may be talking about a team that could do some different things this season than you felt coming out of a 52-point loss and an 0-2 start to the season. So we'll see what the Bears end up doing this week. Let us know how you guys feel in the comments below. Be down there talking with you guys as well. Do you have a win predicted, or do you feel like this is a 1-3 team heading into the bye? Drop 2-2 or 1-3 in the comments. For Courtney Cronin, it's your boy Pat the Designer. Back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bet down, one love. Let's get to 500. Peace.